Hi there, Ischa here, and welcome to the Higher Life, where I take concepts that are considered esoteric, spiritual, and new age, and unpack how you can apply these practically to truly empower your life. And in today's episode, I really want to cut to the core of why do this work. I mean, I bring these concepts forward every week or every couple of weeks, and what I'm really looking at is how can we extract the wisdom out of these teachings in a way that we can apply them practically so that we have this really radical positive shift in our life, that we're no longer living from anxiety and we're able to experience this sense of hyper joy, one could say, where we're just brimming with enthusiasm. We feel inspired and we have all this energy. However, you may ask, what then? And I know this is a really, I think, very prominent question when I listen to people in the more spiritual circles. They really come to this core question of, if I actually achieve this level of empowerment and I find my authentic happiness, what then? And I think it's almost a perhaps unconscious fear that prevents us from really wanting to be truly happy, to be truly empowered and energetic, because we're very unclear about what we'd actually do with our time. And although I hate to say it, but in investigating my own life, it's a really great focus trying to escape struggle, because it gives you lots of things to do, new courses. There's always new ways that we can work on ourselves if we still perceive ourselves to be the problem, or we still feel that we've got a long way to go until we can really be happy. And therefore we don't really have to face that fundamental question about, what is the real true purpose of my life? And in today's episode, I want to have a go at answering that, because I think it's a really fundamental part of this process of personal transformation, because it keeps you inspired when the going gets tough. And I can tell you, over the last 15 years, I've had plenty of times along this path where I've really wondered what the purpose of it is. And it's really tiring sometimes to be in this state of constant self-examination. So taking from the Gene Keys, Richard Rudd is somebody that I learned a lot from, or at least through his teachings. I've come to understand that instead of looking at my process as self-examination, which has a tendency to look at what's wrong and what I want to make right, I've started to understand my life as a contemplation. And then I really apply my mind as a tool to really serve in this contemplation. And what that is taking in what's going on in my life and really sitting within it and observing it and feeling it through to come to understand what's at the source of that experience. And in doing that, I've come to understand, as many spiritual teachings help us to understand, is that I am an experience. So being a human being is in fact being something that is made up of a particular matter that allows experience to happen. And we allow that through our bodies, through our sensations, through our mind. So essentially, we are experience happening in real time. But as human beings, we have this also added capacity to be the experience or to witness our own experience. So we are the experience that's happening because everything is happening through us, but we also have this capacity to be outside of that one experience, observing it and learning from it. So essentially, this kind of makes experience a huge part of the purpose of our lives. So when I bring these concepts forward at the Higher Life Academy, what I'm really doing is helping you to live more fully. And I do believe that that's what we are seeking at the heart. We do know on some level that we're here to have a physical experience, and this physical experience is full of limitations. And what we want to be able to do is not to try and escape that reality. We'll get to do that, in fact, when we die. And what do I mean by that? I mean, so many of us, especially on the spiritual seeking path, are looking for a way to escape the symptoms, one could say, of being in a limited experience. That is, being in a human body, being on a material plane, only having a certain amount of time before we die, between when we were born and when we die, only having a certain amount of energy that we can use in a day. And these limitations create a form of pressure. And that pressure is fantastic because it asks us to really consider, how do we want to make the most out of that time, out of that energy. But we also live in a conditioning process, which is probably something I can't unpack too deeply here, but I do lead you through that process at the Higher Life Academy. But this conditioning process has conditioned the way that we believe we should be using our time and energy, which means we think about a high quality life experience or living fully as in a very narrow way. And usually it's that we can tick off some boxes at the end of our life about the type of person that we have been, the way that we feel about ourselves and the way that we think others feel about us. And that usually is some form of achievement, that we have good relationships with the people around us, that we're considered to be a good person. I think that we all know what that very limited version of success looks like. Even the concept of success is a mental concept, and it doesn't really help us to really consider from this place of real clarity about what does it mean to live fully. And I use that physicality here because what I think we are here to do is to be able to be open to our own power as experiences of life. And in order for us to do that, we can't be fearful of what that experience might generate. And I'm trying to put this in a really simplistic form. We are here to be able to live as a human being in the fullest possible way. And that means embracing the fact that we are a limited being. Now, I know there's this whole I guess it's a rhetoric out there about being limitless. And we are limitless, but only at one level of self. And that is the true self, the self in which all our other selves are born out of. And I've talked about that in the last few videos. So if that's confusing for you, just go back and have a look at those. But the fact is that while we're born out of an unlimited experience, as soon as we are born, that is, we are experiencing myself, for example, as Ischa in a human form, I am now living in a limited experience of that unlimited material, that essence nature that is unlimited. And the purpose is for me to live in this limited experience as fully as possible and not to try and escape that. Because when you die, you will return back into that no limited, unlimited spaciousness, and you will experience the deep relief of no longer being limited. But I mean, how sad is that to get to that moment of passing and realize I'm going back to what I've been trying to escape towards. And I actually didn't have a chance to really fully experience the limited experience that was available to me at the time. And why didn't I? Because from very early on in my life, I was conditioned to be afraid, to be fearful of being so open to that full experience. And I think we all know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that deep fear of being open to the unknown, of allowing all the experiences to have equal value in your life, to no longer fear any type of experience, shame, fear, distrust, joy, happiness, the whole spectrum of emotions which drive a lot of our experiential sense of ourselves in the world. There's this huge diversity, like going into an ice cream shop and having so many different flavors, and some you like more than others. But you know, they're all part of that experiential process of being alive in the world. So when I hear people, as I did recently, I think I've been explaining that I've been looking into non-duality and focusing on the work of Robert Spira, but he also has another teacher who I can't remember the name, but an older French guy. And lots of people ask this, you know, well, what happens once we become really happy? Like, what's the purpose of our lives? And the answer is often about the purpose is to be authentically happy. But I actually think that we need to go one step further. And I do believe that the Sadhguru from the Ischa Foundation looks at the other side of this. When we are operating at that optimal happiness, we have all this energy available to us, and energy likes to manifest, it likes to create. So we want to be focusing then on fully participating in our lives from an open heart, whether that's creatively, whether that's through our soft skills of caring, of relating, whether it's through hard skills of building something. But every single human being has in their DNA a particular type of gift or offering or contribution that they're here to make when they're operating at that highest aspect of their potential. Now, in previous videos, I've talked about the highest potential of a human being. And in this instance, I'm talking about your personal, individual highest potential. I do believe collectively as a species in the current time frame that we're in, that the highest potential of the human being as a collective is to develop the compassionate mind. And this is because it actually serves for an environment or a set of conditions that can then allow each individual person to manifest their gifts out into the world. Because we do need the right conditions and the right container of support to really thrive and become our best self and operate out of that highest potential. But when you're locked into a relational experience of being alive, that is, how you see yourself is in relation to how other people see you or the kind of relationships that you're having. I call this enmeshment. You get really locked into focusing and struggling and suffering around this very limited sense of who you are that shows up in relationships or shows up in this collective model of success that only mirrors back success as being one thing and not another. And we're all, I think, 95% of the population is caught at that level of reality where we still think that who we are is defined by the world or the material world or the relational world that we're currently operating in. And the work that I do here at the Higher Life, it's getting you to see that personal empowerment. That is taking the path of transformation where you transform out of seeing yourself and engaging with life from that limited perspective and step up into this more, empowered way of being in your life where you recognize that everything that you are learning in your life and all the spiritual teachings, all the coaching teachings, everything that is out there that is serving to help you become the best version of yourself is so that you can then fully participate in your life. You can be open to all the experiences. You can live fully as a human being who is defined by limitation. That is, you will come up against the natural struggles that limitation creates. There is no way out of that other than death. And we all will die, so you're guaranteed for a happy ending. And I know that sounds weird, and I myself freak out when I think, well, what happens if I die in a really painful and vicious way, like lots of people do on the planet? And I don't have an answer for that, except for the fact that we do that to each other. So the more empowered we become as individuals, the more empowered our societies become, the less likely it is that we will meet our end in such a gruesome way. But it really, really takes courage and the foresight to see that we need to own this at our personal level. So if you're living in a middle class experience like I am, and my experience of the world through this middle class perspective is not facing that kind of death right now, I have the time, energy, and I can feel safe enough to go, okay, so what is it that I need to work past or work through or let go of so that I can live fully as myself, as this current version of myself that shows up in the world? And at the Higher Life Academy, I walk you through a 3-step process that guarantees that you're able to do that. But the biggest one is understanding the power of enmeshment in our lives. So a lot of people become spiritual seekers because what they're really trying to escape is the enmeshment, the impact that has on their capacity to live fully. And then when they've been able to actually learn enough and apply enough and start to experience themselves beyond that enmeshment, then it comes into play about what is my authentic self, what are these gifts that I want to contribute from. And it's not that you're intellectually deciding that. You've been patterned, born with that gift already ready to contribute, but it can take time and energy to really discover that and facilitate it and develop it to the point where you're at such a level of self-mastery that you can truly give back and contribute from that gift. But while you're completely preoccupied with the suffering that is created through living as your mesh self, it's really difficult to get to that level of mastery. You may zigzag, go into it sometimes and come back, and I've spent a lot of time doing that. But at the end of the day, the purpose of your life is to contribute fully from your inner gifts. Really, it's beyond happiness. But I think that being happy gives you the power to do that. So it's not doing that creates the happiness. It's the happiness that allows you to actually contribute from such a vulnerable space. Because vulnerability really is that capacity to be open fully to life as an experiencer of life, as the experience itself. How exciting is that? So I really just wanted to make this a short one today. I mean, 15 minutes, probably not that short, but to really kind of close up what I've been talking about in the last few videos. If you really want to know what the purpose of your life is, it is to work through your shit to get happy, so that from this place of happiness, you can really contribute fully, because you're coming from your whole self to live wholeheartedly, I think, as Brené Brown really adeptly puts it. So if this is the path for you and you don't know how to get started, visit www.higherlifeacademy.com and start with the Start Here free masterclass. I promise you, you won't look back. This is a truly empowering educational journey. It's self-guided, it's simple, it's practical, and it will get you the results today. So if you'd like to know more, or you just want to have a chat, you can also reach out to me, Ischa Ropert, either at Ischa Ropert Coach or at info@higherlifeacademy.com. Until next time, take care and love life.